On today's episode of The Happy House, start your garden right now. Learn how from our expert Jessie, and then learn how to take an old sweater and make fun winter accessories. Finally, watch Team Creative Kidstuff take the plunge, the polar plunge for Special Olympics. I'm going on an adventure this spring, and it's actually going to happen right in my own house. I've decided I want to plant a garden with my kids this summer, and I've got Jessie here to help me get started with seeds right in our own house, which I like because I actually live in a cold climate. So we're kind of sick of cold, we're kind of sick of winter. So to start growing something right now in early spring with the kids is going to be a lot of fun. So I know nothing about this. Can you help me get started?
I think so.
Okay.
So you're going to want to start simple. So we're going to keep it simple.
Yes.
So kind of the basic things to know. The reason we're going to start seeds indoors is to get a jump on those transplants. So you're going to start things indoors that need warmer weather. So there are some things that you can direct sow in the garden. So these are things like beets, carrots, radishes, a lot of
the root
vegetables, peas, things that can tolerate cooler temperatures. We're going to just direct sow right in the garden. So let's just not mess around with starting those indoors, okay? So some of the warmer weather crops like tomatoes, peppers, basil, squash and melons, we're gonna start those indoors so that our transplants are nice and beefy once the last frost happens, and then we can put them outdoors.
That makes a lot of sense.
Kind of the advantage to starting your own seeds is that you get to pick and choose the varieties that you really like, or maybe you want to try something new and unique, you know, maybe an heirloom variety or something that you can't find at your local garden store, because they're going to have, you know, their transplants available to buy.
That actually makes a lot of sense. So garden centers start their own seeds, and I can buy a certain amount of things, but if I go and just buy seeds, it's the rack is huge, so I can choose whatever I want.
Exactly.
Okay.
With that in mind, you know, you want to look for some specialty type things that you can't buy already grown. So in your area, you need to look up your the last average frost date. In our area, it's about mid-May. About the time of my birthday.
Yes.
Okay, that's how I remember it.
I love having frost in May, don't you?
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
It's average. So sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later. So we're going to go with our average last frost.
Okay.
And then we're going to back it up the number of weeks before the average last frost, and each different type of plant needs to be seeded so many weeks before that last frost if you want to start them indoors.
So will it say that to me on the seed package? Like so many weeks from last frost?
Yes. It'll say that on the seed packet. However, the University Extension services are really good too. They have charts, et cetera, et cetera.
So basically the World Wide Web is our friend
Google
in
machine
this. Yes.
can help you.
Okay. All right.
So I made you this seed starting worksheet.
Okay.
Okay. So what you're going to do is you write your last average frost date up on the top. Here's kind of a list of what we want to grow. This is, you sow this many weeks before the last frost date, and then you do the math from May 15th going backwards. So tomatoes, you need to start 6 weeks before the last average frost indoors.
I love this. I actually hadn't thought about this. I mean, I just wanted to start gardening with my kids, but my son Chandler would be all over this action. He would actually fill this out and tell us exactly what we needed to do. So beyond the whole growing aspect, there's just so much about the research and the sort of backing up the math and figuring out what to do. It's amazing.
Yeah. So you're flipping through your calendar. Maybe that'd be something fun to do after Christmas, you know, when you're kind of winding down. Let's plan our garden.
So we got the calendar. What is very exciting to me also is all of these different containers you have repurposed from your own home to actually do the seed starting. So I know we can, of course, buy these pots that biodegrade into the ground once you plant them. But what you have done is like upcycled all of these containers to grow things indoors.
Digging in my recycling.
That's amazing. I love it. So, and it looks, I am all about kind of aesthetics. So this actually,
cute,
it looks so cute too. I love the way this is. All right. So let me give me just the basics, like what kind of soil am I putting in here and how am I starting something?
So what we're going to need to concentrate on is our soil. So you're going to want to use a lighter mix than potting soil. So it's going to be called a germination mix or seed starting mix.
Okay.
Buy this at your local garden store. And this is just your basic peat, perlite. It's nice and light, so that the seeds have good drainage, good aeration. Okay, so what you're going to want to do, you know, pre-fill whatever containers you want to use, and then I wetted everything down.
What I love about this is I can see that the instructions are just basically on the back, because if I can read instructions, then I know what to do. I mean, that's how I learned to sew. That's how I learned to knit. That's how I learned everything.
Yeah, the seed packet is like the gardener's Bible, so you just read the seed packet.
Perfect. Are there any secret tips or insider tips you have for me for growing or starting seeds?
Well, I guess they're not really secret, but I'll tell you anyway. I guess a good inside track would be maybe plant a few extra in case they die, or, you know, if I'm starting tomatoes, I might put 3 seeds in one hole so that if 2 don't come up, you still get 1, and then you just can thin them out and you have, you know, 1 sturdy plant when it's time to go. And you also need to think about here is humidity. So I think we should actually do this as a demo here.
Okay.
So these are lettuce containers, and they're kind of like a little greenhouse. So what we did is we poked holes in the bottom, because you're going to need drainage, again, somewhere for where the water to go, because you don't want a swampy mess.
Yes.
So you're going to need drainage, and then we save the lid, because that's going to kind of be our greenhouse.
Make the humidity.
Make the humidity stay in while the seeds are germinating. Once they've sprouted, you see green stuff on the top, then you don't need the humidity anymore, okay?
So this is actually really interesting to me. Like, where is this applicable? Which kinds of seeds would I plant in here?
You could really do anything. I mean, this is basically open canvas, but I would, you know, plant all of the same thing.
So I'm making my own greenhouse with a lettuce container.
Yeah, so if you wanted to, you could maybe do like 6 tomatoes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then as they sprout up, they get nice and sturdy, the roots go down to the bottom, then you could split them apart and transplant them into, you know, a larger container for it to grow up.
Until I can transplant them outside.
Right, so that is a little bit of a process, but I thought since it's a lettuce container, we might just plant lettuce in it.
This is really fantastic, and this is exciting for kids, I think. I mean, honestly, to cover it and then see the green start to come up and the whole process of it, I love it. I love this idea.
And then moving outside, this is like blowing up Pinterest right now, I gotta tell you.
What is?
So like using old milk jugs, this is in like an old cleaner jug. I washed it out really good because you don't want anything left in there. But you can actually start your seeds right in here, shut it, tape it shut, take the lid off, and you can just put it outside on in the snow.
In the snow.
So it makes its own little greenhouse. So therefore you're not messing around inside with, you know, lighting your seeds, bottom heat, all that stuff. So we could put our tomatoes maybe out on the deck in March. You have your own little greenhouse there. And then when it's time to transplant them, they're already hardened off because they've been out in the elements.
Yes.
And they're ready to go.
This has been so informational and actually really inspiring. I cannot wait to get started. Thank you so much, Jessie. To learn more about the gardening tips we've talked about today, visit our website. After these messages, learn how to take a sweater you no longer like to wear and turn it into accessories you will love. I'm here with Beth Huntington today, the Renegade Seamstress, and she is going to teach us how to make some really easy winter accessories. Yes. What are we doing today, Beth?
Well, we're going to make some boot socks, and we're also going to make a cute little beanie hat, a little pom-pom hat.
When you say boot socks, it took me a while to I always see these cute like cuffs coming out of the top of people's boots, and I thought they were actually buying really tall socks, but they're not. They're like sleeves basically for your legs. So how does that work?
Well, you know, you can actually use any old sweater. It might be one you have that you don't wear as a sweater anymore if it has holes in it, and you can use the sleeves and just cut off the bottom part of the sleeve, and you can use that for your boot sock. So maybe cut off about about what would that be? Maybe 12 inches or so.
Yeah. Wait, you're actually cutting sweater?
Yep, just cutting this sweater. And this particular sweater is like a knit sweater, so it won't fray. It'll be fine. And if you're worried about it, if you have a regular sweater that you worry that might fray, you can just hem the edge of it.
Okay.
So you just take a cut.
And this
That's all
is
you
handy
do.
because it's all stripy, so we know where to cut. Yes.
You know right where to cut. And then you're actually going to be using this edge as the top.
Because it's wider.
Yep, and you would put that on before you put your boot on, and then you put your boot on and you've got a boot sock.
All right, easy. Let's take a look at these on my friend Peggy and see how they look. Peggy, those are so cute on you. So actually, Beth, what I was thinking is we could turn it inside out and then just slip it inside of a rubber boot, like a rain boot or any kind of hunting boot, and then fold it over the top.
That's a great idea.
To make a really cute cuff. And also kind of insulate your leg a little bit.
Yeah, that's darling.
So we've got this sweater, we've cut off the sleeves and basically made a mini sweater. But I think you have another thing we can still do with the sweater, is that right?
Yeah, so plans for the rest of the sweater. We can actually make a hat out of this. And what you'll need to do is make a pattern first. And you can just use a regular hat that fits you, or if you're making this for your child, you can use one of their hats.
Okay.
And then you can just use a piece of paper or just open a paper bag. And what you'll do is you will lay the hat onto the paper and trace around it, and then add a little 1/2 inch for a seam allowance, and then cut that out, and that you'll use that for your pattern. And the bottom part, yep, you'll put that right on the bottom.
Just lay this on the sweater.
Yeah, lay it on the sweater, and then make sure the bottom is pretty even, front and back, and then you'll just pin this onto the sweater.
It still baffles me how many things we can make out of a sweater and the fact that they don't unravel and how easy it is. I never really would have thought of sewing sweater before, which is strange because if I look at the inside of a sweater, there are sewn seams in there, but
Right. Yeah, and it's just so fun because you can, there's so many sweaters at thrift stores and, in our closets that we don't wear anymore. So it's really a lot of fun to make different things out of sweaters. So just going to cut right around there. And then this sweater doesn't have much of a difference between the inside and the outside. So it probably won't matter too much, but some sweaters you want to make sure you have the right sides together.
Got it.
And then pin that together just right around the edge. Start at the bottom when you sew so that you don't end up with an uneven edge.
So we're always lining up the bottom to start with.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we'll just pin it together all the way around. And this one has the stripes, so you can actually match the stripes, which is really nice.
I actually would have to match the stripes. It wouldn't be an option for me.
Yes. Yes, you want to make sure you're matching the stripes.
Yes.
And we'll just continue pinning all the way around, and then we will sew the 1/2 inch seam.
It's gonna be a cute little hat. I like this because this was a girl's sweater. I can tell because of the sort of the lacing at the top, but this really would be a cute hat for my little boy Chandler.
Oh yeah, and you could use a lot of different patterns and center the patterns and things. So you're going to end up just sewing along the curved edge.
Okay.
And you'll take the pins out, of course, as you sew. And I'll go back and forth on the end seam so it doesn't come apart.
What I love about your projects is I think people are really intimidated by sewing, but it's not that hard. If you learn how to use a basic sewing machine, which you can a lot of times purchase for right around $100 to $150, you can do so many things.
You can. And I think people get a little intimidated too, thinking that it's really hard. But there's so many very simple projects. If you just start with a really simple one,
Right.
then and move into a little bit more involved ones. But this would be a great beginner project and a great project to do with your kids.
I love your projects also because you do repurpose clothing quite a bit, but you don't necessarily do fussy clothing projects. And I think a lot of times it's time intensive to sew clothes, but you just basically repurpose clothes, which I love.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've sewn our hat.
But there's one more step that you'll want to do, and that is to notch out the curves.
Yes.
Because when you put it right side out, it will get too bunchy if you don't notch it. About every inch. And just make sure, be really careful that you're not clipping the stitching.
So when you say notch, I know what that means. It's just cutting a little triangle so the fabric has room to give. And it's pretty cute, but I think it could use something.
It could use a little pom-pom on the top, I think. So I do have a pretty easy way to make them. And this would be like, if you just were at home or living way out in the country like I do, and you don't have access to stores, so you just kind of make do. But I just cut 2 3-inch circles out of corrugated cardboard with a 1.5-inch circle out of the middle.
And then simply loop the yarn around, and then what happens is you basically end up cutting in between all of that, and your pom-pom becomes a pom-pom. There are actually some really great tools that you can buy at your local fabric store. It's like around $6, and it's a little bit easier than this to use, but I think this is a fantastic project for kids too.
It is, yeah. And so you would just take a darning or a yarn needle after you were finished making your pom-pom and just hand sew it to the top, and then you've got a really cute little...
That is going to be an adorable hat.
Yeah.
Beth, thank you so much for these
You're
ideas.
welcome.
We've
Thank
got
you.
boot warmers and a hat out of one sweater.
Yes.
We are ready for winter. Thanks so much for watching today, and thank you, Beth, for coming to learn more about these projects and Beth's other projects that are in this amazing book. Visit our website. Coming up next on The Happy House, watch Team Creative Kidstuff take the plunge, the polar plunge for Special Olympics. The Happy House is at the Minneapolis Polar Plunge today. There's so much going on here, and it's all to benefit Special Olympics.
Minneapolis Polar Plunge, are you ready?
There's going to be a 5K race. There's a costume contest. And the main event, people are jumping in the lake. Not the lake that we like to swim in the summertime, frozen Lake Calhoun. That is some crazy stuff. I will not be doing a belly flop into the cold lake. How many jumpers do you think you're going to have today?
We have over 4,500 registered for the whole weekend.
So can you tell me a little bit about the history of the polar plunge and how this whole thing got started? I just saw somebody in a bathing suit, and it is about 30 degrees here right now. That's crazy.
Lifesavers right there. We've been doing it in Minnesota for over 18 years, and basically we're raising funds for Special Olympics. So participants are raising $75 or more, and then we're cutting a hole in the lake, and people are paying to do that and raising a lot of money for it.
Well, for a really good cause, for Special Olympics.
Yeah.
What does the money raised go towards?
We're providing year-round sports training and competition for people with intellectual disabilities. We have over 8,000 Special Olympics athletes just in Minnesota, and tons more athletes that we want to reach. So it's all going towards that.
Can you tell me a little bit about your participation in Special Olympics and this event?
Well, I'm the coach of a team called the Flames, which consists of about 100 athletes. And Steven is one of the athletes on our team.
And also your son?
Also my son, yes. And this is his first year plunging.
Are you nervous about taking the plunge?
No, of course not.
You're not going to complain about the cold?
No.
Good.
Well, good luck with the plunge, and thank you so much for talking with me.
You are so welcome. I too. I thank you so much for talking to you.
And good luck to you, too.
Thank you. Welcome, Brian.
Well, thank you.
You just flew in from Seattle.
Yes, I did. I'm so excited to leave that 61 degrees and sunny weather to join you here in balmy Minneapolis.
This actually is balmy, FYI.
I know.
All right, so you agreed to take the polar plunge with us, and what prompted you to do that?
Well, it's for a great cause. I mean, how can you not do something that helps out kids that, if it's just a little immersion in cold water for a hot second, why not?
That's a great attitude. I mean, I also think that you're a part of a bigger organization called Greater Good, where there's a lot of charitable acts that go on there. So it's sort of the mission behind the company you work for.
True, yeah, without a doubt, that the fact that, we try to do as much good as we can being the greater good. But, this one in particular is kind of part of my soul. I like to do something a little adventurous, and I have never done a polar plunge in Minneapolis in the wintertime, so why not?
That's a great attitude. All right, I will be plunging along with you, and it's getting close to the time. Are you nervous at all?
Mainly nervous about what it's going to be like once we're out of the water. I might end up as an ice sculpture or something here.
So today, I am on a team with Creative Kidstuff that's going to take the plunge, and I'm a little nervous about it, but I think it's going to be really great. But if people can't participate in an event like this or they've missed it, how else can you help Special Olympics? What can people do?
Yeah, we have our competitions are year-round, so you can volunteer at a state or any competition that we have. You can volunteer at our fundraising events that we have, and they're all year-round, so there's always an opportunity to get involved.
So obviously financial donations, but service as well.
Yes, yep, absolutely. And you can always donate online to our website or our plunge site, so lots of ways.
Thank you so much, Megan. This event is really well done. People are having a great time and doing good, and that's what it's really all about.
Yeah, and good luck to you on your plunge.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out. Thanks for plunging.
Get in here! It's cold out there! What is she doing? Get ass last! First polar plunge at 66 years old! I made my day! Oh my gosh.
Oh, I hope you weren't filming that.
He films everything. It's kind of irritating. No.